winning this fight tonight with our name lit up in lights. We're the new kings, winning this fight tonight with our name lit up in lights.
Friday Night Stars, presented by Whataburger. We've had our grill going for 75 years, and yep, it's still going. Whataburger, goodness 24/7.
And here we are. It is week number 8 of this Texas high school football season. And this is Friday Night Stars, presented by Whataburger. Bill Jones along with Kyle Youmans here inside the Globe Life studios at the beautiful Star in Frisco. As we make our way, we're wading our way through district play, and things are getting very interesting as we get down to the stretch drive of these district races.
See, this is the best part of the season because it's the final month, the final push to the postseason. You're starting to figure out who really means what they've done through the first really a month and a half, 2 months nearly of the high school football season, and the playoff picture continues to take shape. We're past the halfway point now. Now it's time to really see who is a contender and who is a pretender.
You know, and we spent a lot of time talking about Class 6A schools and the public schools in Texas. We're kicking things off this week with the featured matchup of the week, the game of the week, the Whataburger game of the week from the private school ranks, with a Dallas Cowboy touch to it.
Yeah.
As Jason Witten's defending state champion Liberty Christian Warriors from Argyle take on the Parish Episcopal Panthers, a perennial power, if I can put as many P's as possible into that.
And it's a rematch of last year's TAPS Division I state title game that was won by Liberty Christian and over Parish Episcopal. Of course, that was a Liberty team that last year was kind of burst onto the scene. Jason Witten as the head coach, really starting to find their rhythm with so many different talented Division I commits, and then all of a sudden they've come back this year and they're 4-2, and so they're trying to say, hey, we're still around, we're still a team you should remember throughout this entire regular season. They won both meetings between these two district foes last year in the regular season, 35-27, and then in the title game, 45-24. This year they're led by quarterback and Baylor commit Quinn Murphy. 26 of 44 passing last week and win over Prestonwood. He went for 330 yards, 4 touchdowns in that win. Parish on the other side, they're trying to find some revenge on this Liberty Christian squad that took them down for the first time. Parish had won 5 straight TAPS Division I championships. They were just rolling, and then Liberty Christian comes in and beats them once in the regular season and again in the postseason. Jalen Pyle is a 3-star Michigan commit at wide receiver. He's had over 34 receptions this year, 690 yards, 8 touchdowns from the outside. I expect Parish to get back to what they've done best, and that is put up some points against this Liberty Christian squad and what they can bring to the table.
And Parish has a freshman quarterback, Logan Lucero, who transferred from Highland Park. And by the way, Jalen Pyle was a transfer from South Lake. His dad, Willie Pyle, played for the Cowboys 20 years ago. He was Jason Witten's teammate here, and we can't get past this game without a brief mention of Cooper Witten, who is a junior. He is the top linebacker recruit in the country.
Star.
He's been playing both ways, although last week he didn't play offense at Liberty Christian's win over Prestonwood Christian Academy, but he is one that you got to go watch on the blue field at Parish Episcopal on Friday night. All right, District 4-5A Division II. How about this matchup? It's any other week would be the game of the week. We didn't already have a rematch of a state championship game. It's the Anna Coyotes and the Walnut Grove Wildcats.
And if you like points, you need to go and watch this matchup in 4-5A Division II. Starting with the Anna Coyotes, 548 yards versus a good Emerson defense last week. Michael Kennedy, the wide receiver, put up a Randy Moss type of stat line. You remember that stat line Moss put up against the Cowboys the first time they'd squared off? Kennedy went 3 receptions, 169 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That is the definition of what Randy Moss did in that matchup.
You got Moss.
A couple years ago, a couple decades ago now, down the line. But Kennedy did that last week against Frisco Emerson. But Walnut Grove is a team right now that is undefeated, and it seems like they've got a beeline to the state title, or at least the state playoffs, before they can really start talking state title. 70 points in back-to-back games. It's the 3rd time this year that they've had 70 points in a matchup, outscoring opponents over their last 4 weeks of the regular season 245 to 31, Bill Jones. 245 to 31, an incredible 4-week stretch, one of the top scoring offenses in the country, and they can play some defense as well. How about Cam Newton? No, it's not that Cam Newton, but he's putting up similar numbers. 95 carries, 1,100 yards rushing, 18 rushing touchdowns, and by the way, he has 3 receiving touchdowns with over 200 yards on the receiving end as well. They can win in a number of different ways, but they're going to be tested by the Anna Coyotes in their offense up front.
And that Cam Newton had a 2,000-yard season and 30 touchdowns last year for Walnut Grove. So that is a dandy matchup. And staying in Class 5A, District 3 5A, Division 2, the Argyle Eagles. You talk about perennial powers. Todd Rogers has another good team there. And the Summit Jaguars coming on this season with a 5-1 record. They're both 4-0 in district play.
Yeah, let's talk about Summit to start because, like you said, we've talked about Argyle a number of times on Friday Night Stars, but give a little credit to what the Summit side has done this year. Coming off of a 39-29 win over a top 10 Mansfield Timberview squad, that was a bit under the radar, and they didn't just win that game barely by the skin of their teeth. No, they pretty much dominated all the way throughout. Summit put up 597 yards of total offense. How about running back Ian Gebhardt? Had 214 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns last week against Mansfield Timberview in that 39-29 win. The undefeated district record, 5-1 to start the season. I think Mansfield Summit is the real deal in District 3 5A Division 2. But in order to become the man, you got to beat the man. And that's what Argyle and the Eagles are. They won 5 straight after they lost in their opening week matchup, 44-21 against Lone Star, who we've already talked about as a state power at the 5A Division 1 level. Argyle also can beat you in a number of different ways. They have a 1,000-yard passer in McGuire Gasperson. They have a 500-yard rusher in Nathaniel Bruce. They have a 500-yard receiver in Julian Caldwell. And then they have weapons in depth outside of that, both sides of the football playing at an extremely high level, putting up those 50 points per game in their 4 district games so far. Argyle still just as dominant as ever, but watch for Summit to make this a football game and make things interesting.
And that quarterback Gasperson headed to UTSA, a 3-year starter. And Kyle, you're too young to remember when you would go to gas stations and there would be actually an attendant that would come out, a gas person, like McGuire gas person.
Gas person.
Well, this gas person, as a quarterback, he not only checks your oil, he'll check the air in your tires, he'll clean your windshield. This gas person, he is a throwback. And I'm sorry to tell you, Mean Green of North Texas, that UTSA has a fine one. Oh, they're, by the way, playing this
Yes,
week,
they are. They are playing.
All right, and finally, Class 6A, District 7 6A, the Lake Highlands Wildcats and the Berkner Rams. Yes, Everson Wall's alma mater.
Hey.
Or Berkner High School.
Absolutely, and both teams with just one blemish on the season. Lake Highlands' season low is 34 points. They've scored 34 points or more in every single one of their matchups, and that was in Week 1 against Forney, where they lost by a single possession. Quarterback Chuck Smith has been incredible to this point in the year. 108 for 158 passing, over 1,800 yards through the air, 20 touchdowns, just 1 interception. 20 touchdowns, 1 interception for this Lake Highlands squad, who is starting to return to their promising potential going into the year. Then you look at Berkner, 4-1. They found their offense after a close matchup against Little Elm, another close matchup against Richardson. They've blown out the last 2 opponents, including their win last week. They've got a 2-way player in Daquan Dunn, an Arizona State commit, 3-star, plays corner, plays wideout, plays running back. He's even attempted a couple passes this year. So you talk about Gasperson doing a little bit of everything. So can Daquan Dunn. He gets the job done no matter what he's asked to do.
And what I understand, he also punts.
Yes.
And he long snaps.
Yes.
I don't think he does it at the same time, though. Anyway, all right, we're just getting started on this edition of Friday Night Stars. It's the Showdowns at the Star when we continue in just a moment.
This segment was brought to you by Whataburger. Try the all-new Prickly Pear Raspberry Whata Fresher, made with real raspberry. It's refreshing and ready for you now at Whataburger.
How about these showdowns at the Star? Moments away from kickoff inside Ford Center, the Frisco Raccoons and the unbeaten Wakeland Wolverines. More on that in just a second. The Friday night game, the Reedy Lions against the Centennial Titans. More on Reedy in just a moment. But Kyle Youmans, you're the voice of Frisco ISD. So tell me about the Frisco Raccoons against the Wakeland Wolverines.
Well, that's an opportunity to win seeding in that district. Of course, right now it's really Wakeland and Lone Star. They're the two that are pacing the district. Frisco certainly has an opportunity to upend Wakeland this week. They fell to Frisco Lone Star already. So in order to make things interesting, you really need this Frisco squad to step up and win this matchup this week against the Wolverines. If not, it's going to set up a state championship caliber matchup next week on Friday night at Kirkendall Stadium between the Lone Star and Wakeland. And remember what that came down to last year. So Frisco, they can get up and down the field. They run the ball exceptionally well. They've put up points on the board out of that wing tee system that Jeff Harbert and company have really used for quite some time. Expect Frisco to make this a game, but Wakeland, man, they are super talented.
Okay, so that game is going on tonight. The Friday night game, again, Reedy against Centennial. And let's take an up-close look at Chad Cole's Reedy Lions.
We graduated a lot, so we had, I believe, at the beginning of the year 4 returning starters, and so just the inexperience, I think, just the practice tempo, the things that you know, our guys had to figure out on the fly.
This year here at Reedy, we have a lot of new guys on the offense, a lot of new skill positions, but we have a very dynamic team, a lot of fast guys, a lot of guys who can make plays.
As a defensive-minded team for Reedy, we strive to be the best of our abilities every game, and we basically try to lead the team as previous years, leading the area in fewest points allowed and the district. Or we just strive to continue that each and every year.
The identity we have here at Reedy High School is just spreading the ball around to the outside, getting the ball out quick, getting to our playmakers, and just letting them go make plays.
Our seniors came up with a theme that said business as usual, and so they're basing that off of the consistency that we've had the previous 3 years, and they want to model and be the same that the previous teams have left, and so I thought that was pretty fitting, and we want them to do that. So we want them to practice with the same tempo that the teams in the past have.
Here in Frisco, everyone grows up playing with each other, same Frisco Football League growing up, so I know a lot of these guys, and then being on opposite sides of the field is pretty cool, you know, get to play versus those guys, so it's definitely a cool experience.
Or what a program Chad Cole has put together at Reedy High School, looking for their 4th straight 10-win season.
Yeah, they know how to win some football games in this district. They lost in a 14-10 really tight matchup earlier in district play against Wakeland, the team that we just talked about as being undefeated, very talented on their side. So they've got everything still in front of them. They've got 2 matchups, and then in the final 2 weeks of the regular season, they play Frisco, then they play Lone Star to cap off the season. They can still run the table and win a district championship no matter what happens with Wakeland and with Lone Star and with Frisco in the district. But if you're the Reedy Lions, business as usual, that's the perfect way to look at it for Coach Cole's squad. Keep getting the job done. I like what they have at quarterback. Lincoln Harn, really good player, 1,200 yards passing, 18 touchdowns this year. He's still continuing to grow into his role as a junior. It's going to be a fun matchup throughout the year.
All right, what a competitive district in District 5, 5A Division I. When we come back, one of the most competitive Class 6A districts, and what a game last week between Rockwall Heath and North Forney.
This segment is brought to you by Whataburger. Introducing the all-new Whataburger Bacon Wrangler Double. Big Texas flavor, made hot and fresh for a limited time, only at Whataburger.
Friday Night Stars, what a district race. 10-6A, and you got the Heath Hawks, North Forney, Longview, a perennial power Longview, and Rockwall, which knocked off North Crowley, all fighting for the 4 playoff spots. And Kyle Youmans, how about the game last week? Heath and North Forney go to overtime.
This was an incredible game all the way through. How about North Forney going all the way down the field and scoring with just over 3 minutes left to tie that football game up at 49 apiece. It goes into overtime. North Forney keeps the ground game rocking. They work their way deep into territory. One move inside, pushed inside the pylon, and he goes into the end zone for the score. However, The ensuing PAT was blocked, and it left the door open for Rockwall Heath. Lobs it back of the end zone. Now all they need is a PAT to win it, and the PAT was good. 56-55 the final. And how about the Hawks of Rockwall Heath? They knocked off Highland Park to start the season. They come back and they beat the Falcons of North Forney to continue their dominant run here in 2025.
And by the way, that game-winning touchdown pass by Rockwall Heath quarterback Prosper Neal, it was a fourth down pass. That's how exciting that district race basically is. All right, let's check in with the Denton Ryan Raiders now and Johnny Resendez.
The term Texas high school football powerhouse is not something that is said lightly. There is a standard that needs to be met every single day, even at the crack of dawn. For the Denton Ryan Raiders, nothing gets them going more than winning.
I woke up this morning, I'm ready, you already know what time it is. I think we like going out there competing. We don't think anybody can beat us, when we're at our best.
We always wanted a state championship since we were in 7th, 6th grade. We've talked about it for a while.
The Raiders are 3-time state champions, having last won it all in 2020 when they beat Cedar Park for the 5A Division I title. The team is coming off a trip to the state semifinal in 2024, and as much championship aspirations as this team has, it's the process that they work on each day.
The teams that talk about winning state titles, they don't win them. The teams that talk about getting better every single day, those are the teams that have a chance at the end. That's culture, in my opinion. Culture is not slogans on the wall. It's not a mission statement. Culture is what you live every day.
Now, Coach Hennigan has a special connection to one of his players. His son, Quinn, is a starting quarterback and one of the leaders of this team. They might be family off the field, but on the field, Dad becomes coach, a demanding one. But Quinn enjoys every moment of it, even the hard ones.
I actually like it because he coaches me hard, like very hard, and it helps me become a better player.
He's one of the hardest workers on the team. He is coached as hard or harder than anybody we have. That's the way I've handled all of my boys because I don't want people to think they're getting preferential treatment. But it's been a blast coaching him, and I'll miss him when he's gone for sure.
And that expectation goes for everyone in the locker room. Coach Dave Hennigan says what makes this team great isn't just the number of wins they get, but the lessons they learn through football.
I think what it comes down to is our coaches pour into these kids, and they know that we love them as more than football players. You can make the world a better place if you take the lessons that you learn in this locker room onto the rest of your life.
Reporting in Denton, Johnny Resendez, CBS Sports Texas.
And of course, Ryan, Coach Hennigan there, Dave Hennigan, with one of his sons he's coaching, and of course Seth Hennigan, he just tore it up at the college level.
Yeah, he's all-time leading passer in Memphis history and American Conference history. Overall, an incredible player, and so Quinn just trying to follow in those footsteps and continue to keep the Ryan Raiders in the hunt for a state title.
And then you got Ryan Raiders like J.T. Sanders, the Carolina Panthers, Billy Bowman with the Atlanta Falcons, Drew Sanders with the Denver Broncos. They're all over the NFL. We wrap up Friday Night Stars in just a moment. The District of Doom. How about those Cedar Hill Longhorns when we come back?
Friday Night Stars, presented by Whataburger. We're celebrating 75 years of giving the people exactly what they order, 24/7. That's the Whataburger way.
As we wrap up Friday Night Stars this week, another 6A district where 5 teams are battling for 4 playoff spots. And at the top of the district right now, Cedar Hill at 3-0, taking on Waxahachie this week, Kyle Youmans.
Absolutely. This is going to be a great matchup because you look at Cedar Hill and that undefeated record, that certainly means something. Waxahachie already has a win over Duncanville under their belt, but a loss to DeSoto. Cedar Hill has Waxahachie, DeSoto, Duncanville, the 3-headed monster at the top of that District of Doom in 3 of their next 4 games. So they have not really met the brass of this conference, where you look at Waxahachie, they have met the brass at least 2 of the 3 so far this year. So watch out for the Indians. They can still go up and get it. We've talked about them throughout the season on Friday Night Stars. Expect them to continue to put up high numbers. But Cedar Hill trying to get back to what the Longhorns once were, see if they can get in the fold there in that District of Doom.
And they've got Jalen Brewster, a junior defensive lineman, #1 defensive lineman in the nation in the 2027 class. He's committed to Texas Tech. Jaquan Snell, the safety from Waxahachie, #3 safety in the nation in that 2027 class. There is talent here in North Texas. We'll see you again next week here on Friday Night Stars.